Hello everyone, my name is Enzo and today my presentation is about eSports, how to be paid for playing video games professionally. So what is eSports? eSports is pretty much professional video gaming. If you can make it to a good eSports team and perform well, you can make a living. eSports is so popular now, the Olympics is considering adding it to the list of games in the 2024 Olympics, which will be hosted in Paris, though they have said they will not host any of the games if they have any violence of any kind. Studies have found that almost 3 out of 4 Americans between the ages of 14 and 21 have watched or played online multiplayer games. In 2014, Robert Morris University became the first college to offer an eSports scholarship, with 60 other schools following and many others doing unofficial scholarships. The University of Akron also recently announced they would be opening a 5,200 square foot eSports facility. Esports might not seem big, but in fact, esports generates a lot of popularity and revenue each year. Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones has actually bought an esports team called Complexity. New England Patriots owner Bob Kraft has invested in a league for the game Overwatch, and major Formula One teams have chosen players for esports. Here's a picture of an esports tournament. I did not choose this picture for the game or the people playing it, but basically there's going to be 2 teams of people like that sitting down playing a game with millions of people watching. I would estimate there's a couple thousand watching live right there with paid tickets, but there can be millions and millions watching online. So how much would you get paid? According to the professional esports company Riot, each player in the League of Legends Championship Series gets a minimum of $12,500 per year. You also get extra money, however, based on your team's placement in the series and whether your team won or not. A very popular esports game, Dota 2, can have over $20 million in the prize pool alone. Here's a picture of the game League of Legends, and here's a picture of the game Dota 2. Dota 2 is actually the most popular esports game of all time. In 2017, a total of roughly $113.4 million was given to players from prize money. The average player got $6,500 per year, and that's just in prize money. This year, esports has already given out a total of $102 million in prize money. This year, the average per player is $7,600 in prizes. The highest paid player this year has already made roughly $2.3 million off a massive tournament, which is Team 1 for $25 million. So here I have some graphs. The one on the left shows the revenues of esports. As you can see, the biggest one is the National Football League with $14 billion, then baseball with $10 billion, the NBA basketball with $7 billion, the National Hockey League with $4.5 billion, and finally esports at the bottom with $345. But in prize money, they're actually pretty big. The Wimbledon 2018 had $43.8 million in the prize pool, while this year's Dota 2 International Tournament had $25.5 million. Underneath that is this year's Daytona 500, this year's US Open Golf, and underneath that is last year's League of Legends Championship. Underneath that is this year's Tour de France and Kentucky Derby. But for viewership, last year's League of Legends Championship had 106.2 million people watching both live and online. Underneath that, tied with the 2018 Dota 2 International Tournament, was this year's Kentucky Derby with 15 million viewers. Underneath that is this year's Wimbledon, this year's Daytona 500, this year's golf, and last year's Tour de France. I also have a quote from the Washington Post here that says 38% of young Americans identified as fans of esports or competitive gaming, similar to the 40% who said they were fans of the NFL. What I really like about esports is that you can get on a team as long as you have the skill. And some games played for esports are actually free, such as Fortnite, World of Tanks, Smite, and more. Fortnite Battle Royale has already given out $8.5 million over 76 tournaments, which is approximately a total given out of $111,000 per tournament. Back a couple months ago, when I first started looking into this, Fortnite only had 11 tournaments with $180,000. Here's a picture of the game Fortnite. So now let's move on to Smite. Season 5 of Smite's esports actually guarantees each Smite Pro League player at least $30,000 to start, and players can earn even more from their placement in the tournament. Smite has already given out a total of roughly $8.6 million over 91 tournaments, which is approximately $94,000 per game. Smite is the 10th highest paying esports game of all time, 9th highest paying esports game of all time, with Fortnite at number 10. World of Tanks has given out $3.7 million over 49 tournaments, which is approximately $75,000 per tournament. Here's a picture of the game Smite, and here's a picture of the game World of Tanks. There are a lot of downsides to esports, however. Typical esports players start in their mid to late teens and usually retire by 20 years old. This is mostly due to long training hours and a decline in reaction time, and sometimes due to injuries, if you can believe it, that include arthritis, carpal tunnel, deep vein thrombosis, and even back strain, which is why posture is very important. So here's a picture of one of the most common, carpal tunnel syndrome, which is basically a compressed nerve in the wrist caused by either your mouse being too far, too close to you. It's basically caused by repeated positioning of your wrist like this. There are upsides though. Some of Team Liquid's members are bringing in at least $60,000 per year, as well as money from streaming deals. 5 of Team Liquid's members are living in Los Angeles for free, just for being great players. And their team is sponsored by Alienware, which makes their computers. So that means they have access to the latest computers, monitors, and equipment from the company. They practice League of Legends a minimum of 50 hours per week. And before I go on, I just want to mention something I didn't know when I first looked into their team. Each esports team has different divisions, so one squad may play League of Legends while the other may play Dota 2. Team Liquid was founded in 2000 in the Netherlands, and they are now the most successful esports team of all time. They've made a total of $24 million total over 1,379 tournaments. They also have the highest earning esports player of all time, who has made a total of roughly $4.1 million. Around the same time, Fortnite Battle Royale was a small esports game. This guy only had $3.7 million. Team Liquid also has an 8,000 square foot space just for practicing their games. Each squad of Team Liquid not only practices their game, but watches films to help with their playstyle, usually of their last tournament or game. For Team Liquid, Monday is usually their day off, but most of the time they end up practicing more or filming commercials. 2 former players for Team Liquid, Piglet and Phoenix, practice for 12 to 14 hours a day with only 4 hours of sleep. 2 questions. 1, what are they doing in the other hours? And 2, how come they weren't even in the top 50 of Team Liquid's best players? One of Team Dignitas's players, Idra, used to use a computer program which asked him to type certain things while being timed to increase typing speed. In 2013, Team Dignitas practiced their games for 12 hours a day each day, with only 1 or 2 days off a month. So, esports is very hard to get into, especially if you don't practice for hours each day. And once you're accepted, expect rigorous training and little breaks. Also, if you don't make a good team, pay will be hard to live on, but if you do, pay will be high and prize money good. Thanks for watching.